Welcome to the Frontier session to talk about increasing speed, quality, and visibility across the dev lifecycle. Today, I'm going to be talking to some of our industry experts, Antoine Millet and Emmanuel Acqua from VP and Solaris Bank. No matter where you are and whatever stage you're in of development, Slack can bring together your processes through integrations and customizations. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how we solve that problem at Slack. And a little later, we're going to hear from Antoine and Emmanuel about their experiences in their organizations. First, I'm going to start with a bit of an introduction. I'm V. Brennan. I have been at Slack just over 3 years, and I lead our engineering teams here in EMEA. That includes our data stores team, our traffic and service networking teams. Prior to that, I was at Spotify in Sweden and at the BNZ in New Zealand. I've spent the last 10 years as an engineering leader. I've worked on the product, platform, infrastructure, and even IT. I love what I do, and I'm continuously inspired by how teams are solving difficult problems in tech. Development lifecycle is definitely one of those difficult problems. So I'm going to share with you today how we're solving that problem at Slack. So what makes a team successful? According to the DORA State of DevOps report, there are key things that make engineering teams successful. For those of you that are not familiar with the DORA DevOps report, it's been created by Nicole Forsgren, Jez Humble, and Jean Kim. And for the last 5 years or so, they've been collecting key metrics from engineering organizations and trying to define and codify how we make teams successful. So they've written extensively on building and scaling high-performing teams. So let's have a look at what they have to say about successful teams. So successful teams, and these are elite teams according to the DevOps report, they deploy to production multiple times a day. These teams can get code from developers' machines to production in less than 24 hours. And when they deploy to production, things seldom break. And when they do break production, they can reestablish service within an hour or less. So this is their definition of successful engineering teams. As per their research, they also found that elite teams, so the high end of the scale, deploy 208 times more in comparison to low-performing teams. There were 2,604 times faster to resolve incidents, and they had 7 times lower change failure rate. So if you can imagine from a customer impact, this is huge. All engineering teams and all engineering organizations are going to have outages, but to be able to actually respond and repair your systems that quickly has a massive impact on customer satisfaction. So what does this actually mean? Do these things actually matter in terms of successful bottom line to the company? So the answer is it does. As per the research, teams have 60% higher revenue growth, and they're 2.4 times more likely to grow at greater than 20%. So these things are not only good for business, but they're also great for the engineering teams. Engineers who work on these teams are half as likely to report burnout. They're happy engineers, and happy engineers are people who can build quality products, get instant feedback from their users and customers, and use that to build new and better things. If our teams are walking back changes and resolving issues, putting out fires all day, we can't iterate. And it also burns out your people and has a very personal impact on the engineers. So we can unlock these feedback loops that drive motivation. So I bet you're wondering how Slack stacks up in these comparisons. As it turns out, we do pretty well. Our secret is no secret. Our success is no secret. We rely on our own tools, a mix of channel-based messaging, third-party integrations, and custom apps. We've been able to up-level the speed, quality, and visibility of our software development. So you might wonder, is that just Slack internally? How does Slack help other organizations? So according to Forrester's upcoming Total Economic Impact Report, the analysis has found that Slack improves velocity and accuracy across software development life cycles between 16 and 19%. So that's for all organizations. That's not just Slack on Slack. So the benefits are there for anyone who is actually accessing the tool to unlock these productivity gains. So let's take a deep dive into Slack. In the remainder of the talk, I'm going to show you how Slack is integrating its own tooling and eating our own dog food to improve our own development lifecycle. From experience, I believe the techniques covered are easy to implement, but also have given us a great return on investment. As I was thinking about this presentation, I was wondering where to start. And in the end, it was obvious. Let's start with superheroes. And I have to admit, my 10-year-old son has definitely been part of that thought process. Spider-Man is always a favorite, and he is a really good analogy here. Peter Parker is a very, very bright kid. He invented the fluid that he uses to generate the web to fly across the city, but he had to be bitten by a spider to actually become a superhero. So it's the spider that gave him the superpowers of super strength and the ability to climb buildings. So just like Peter Parker, our tools are very, very good on their own. We have industry-leading tools like AWS, GitHub, Jira, Jenkins. But when we put them together with Slack, that's when we really unlock the power of these super tools. And I bet you're wondering how. So let's have a look at that. So again, keeping with the superhero theme, Slack makes these tools super tools by giving them the superpowers of 3 different superheroes. So first is the power of vision. By providing integration channels, search, and then bringing people together to look at information, it creates the ability to process information with high speed and accuracy. Second is the power of Flash. It brings speed to all phases of the development lifecycle. And the third is the power of Lockjaw. Not as well known a superhero, but someone who has the ability of teleportation and a very, very cute character indeed. So Lockjaw helps transport people into the conversations and providing them with the ability to sense issues through notifications and real-time communication. So if you're curious how Slack brings these powers together, let's ask Mario and Charlie. So who are Mario and Charlie? They're fictional characters. They're fictional characters in a company that doesn't incorporate Slack in their development lifecycle today. So Mario is a software developer who works on developer tools, and Charlie is his boss's boss's boss. Today, they're both upset. Charlie's upset because a developer who is his customer of his tools has given him negative feedback. The feedback has come as a surprise, and it's based on an experience from 3 months ago. Mario's frustrated because he's been tasked with explaining what happened, but the feedback is about a particular Jenkins job that has long been deleted and the history is lost. He couldn't find anything in his email about it, and when he went and searched in Jira, he did find a ticket from 3 months ago, but the ticket didn't have a lot of detail that could give him any clue. So he's just sent an email to the customer and is waiting for a response. Clearly, they are out of touch with their customers. Mario's upset, so let's leave him alone for now. But let's look at a flip side of this and what it would look like if we incorporated Slack. At Slack, the possibility of something like this happening is very, very limited. The screenshot on the top left is from Checkpoint, which is Slack's internal continuous integration, continuous development platform. This is a screen where the developer can leave feedback after the completion of a deploy. The feedback is directly streamed in Slack, as shown in the screenshot on the top right. Most of the times we understand the reason behind the feedback because it's instantaneous and we have a lot of immediate context. But in this case, we're not sure of the reason behind the feedback, so we ask the person who's given it to fill us in with some extra context. After this point, any feedback that requires work on our side to improve customer experiences is forwarded to the feedback channel, which is shown in the image on the bottom. So during our grooming meetings, someone actually will look at this feedback and the person will prioritize the entire context of the request and they can make the right decision. And because we have a Jira integration in Slack, we can immediately create a ticket right from there, which will pick up this context and link to this conversation. So everyone, including the customer, is kept in the loop of the progress via notifications from that point on. This is one of the many ways that Slack keeps us connected with our customers and thus makes our tools more effective and the customer happy. Now, this is not the only workflow we have. There are other workflows like this, which help us keep connected with customers and leverage their help. This all translates into better tooling. Now, going back to Mario and Charlie, they found out after talking to the customer that his pain has long been addressed. So good news for them. They then go to an offsite where they're discussing their goals for the upcoming quarter. They quickly realize the team are not aligned. The product folks have been talking to customers and have committed to developing key products to address customer needs. And the individual contributors, engineers, have a large refactor and tech debt effort lined up for this quarter. They can't possibly do both. Quarterly goals need to be set by the end of the offsite. So time is of the essence and emotions are running high. The issue here is that everyone was working in silos. If we were using Slack, we would see that we're breaking up the knowledge of silos. When we start planning or development, we create a dedicated channel. All work on projects is done in these channels. Obviously, this includes people and conversations, but it also includes documents, meeting notes, design discussions. Everyone has almost all of the information in one place and it's searchable. And I say almost all because obviously people have face-to-face conversations and people don't take notes of every single conversation they have. But we are capturing as much of it as we possibly can. The public nature of channels also attracts additional people who might be working on similar things or have an interest in the project. Moreover, as decisions are done, everyone's visibility is hard at work and feeding into the architectural decisions that we're making. Even if a new project is surfaced, there's contextual awareness of other conversations. The right people are included right away and conversations ensue. Conversations are definitely still hard. Slack's not a magic pill for priorities, but it surfaces these discussions and ensure they're met head on. And as far as I'm concerned, sunlight is the best disinfectant. So rather than getting to the offsite and knowing that we need to set our priorities within 2 days, we've been discussing these things for weeks, if not months, in a variety of channels. Most of the time, channel conversation is sufficient, but for bigger projects with larger impact, feedback is needed from a wider audience. So having channels with known name conventions helps find the right channels and people for the feedback gets easier. In the example on the slide, we reached out to a developer of an application called Web App, and people who want to give feedback can quickly build context and provide useful feedback. So this is one way Slack helps reduce change failure rate, and we talk to one another. That's the key. Dedicated channels have other benefits as well. With dedicated product and feature channels, people don't need to wait for meetings when they have questions. People can directly ask in the channel, and often additional people can chime into these conversations to help resolve issues or answer questions. So in this way, Slack helps reduce cycle time. And if you're a team like mine that has partner teams in Melbourne and in San Francisco, actually finding time to talk in person is actually quite tricky. So having a channel-based conversation asynchronously means that we can actually keep projects moving at a good click. Another way Slack helps reduce cycle time is with bots and integrations. So bots post messages such as ones of opening a PR on a project channel and sending notifications directly to requested individuals. So if my review is required on a PR, I will get a notification that lets me know that. This keeps requests visible and code keeps moving quickly through the pipeline. We even have little reminder bots when PR requests have been sitting waiting in channels for a long time. We call him PR minion. Having a shared channel also creates a sense of team and common mission. I have visibility of what the other people in my team are working on, and I can see the work flowing through. So Slack makes other phases of the development lifecycle faster as well. Test and build failure reports are sent to appropriate channels. These reports have context regarding the PRs and the fail, build, or test. And this helps quickly identify the right person to fix the problem. As a result, deployment pipeline is always moving forward and cycle time remains low. Flaky tests are the bane of every software developer's existence. So at Slack, real-time reports are generated and sent to appropriate channels. So this helps both the developers and the owners. Owners benefit as they know real-time issues impacting their tests, and they can quickly identify the root cause. And the closer you can get to the time of the failure, the more likely you are to be able to identify the root cause quickly, because it's likely that it just happened. Other developers benefit as they become aware of ongoing issues and don't end up wasting unnecessary time debugging environmental issues. So today we quarantine tests manually, but soon that quarantine is going to be done in an automated way. Back in Mario's no Slack world, he's struggling with an issue. One of the key metrics is moving in the wrong direction. He pages the on-call person. They try to discover what's going on, but they're not able to understand the problem. They keep asking and adding additional people to the call, and only several hours later is when they find the true owner and the change is rolled back. At Slack, all production rollout updates are pushed through our deploys channel. This is done via Deploy Wizard, our internal tool. Also, people making other production impacting changes outside Deploy Wizard, such as a huge load test, also publish their plans in this channel. With this centralized context, when issues happen, it's easy to identify the root cause. We can also pause deploys very quickly and communicate to the whole engineering organization when there's a broader issue. For example, if I'm an incident commander on a particular issue, I can go to the deploys channel and put a hold on deploys while I ship an emergency fix. Also, before code is pushed to production, it's deployed to dog food. So every engineer at Slack uses Slack's dog food environment. So this is our pre-customer environment that we all use. So if someone notices an issue while working on these workspaces, we just go to the deploys channel and share that information. So with all the context and visibility in one place, people are identified and issues are resolved very quickly. This is another reason for our low change failure rate. When changes are pushed through various stages of the deployment pipeline, associated metrics are generated. If these metrics cross thresholds, alerts will fire, and they'll fire in the appropriate channels, and the right people will see them, or they'll be paged. These alerts come with context and also identify potential root causes. A combination of alerts reaching out to the right people and having the potential root cause already identified makes the incident response very, very fast. So to summarize, Slack provides us with the superpowers of 3 superheroes: vision, flash, and lockjaw. This makes our tools more effective, increasing visibility, adding speed and quality to all phases of the development lifecycle. All this shows up in our high-performing engineering metrics. So in summary, these are some of the techniques that can be used to improve your speed, quality, and visibility. Dedicated channels can improve cycle time and reduce change failure rate. Connecting your development stack to Slack creates visibility and breaks silos. You can free up bandwidth for high-impact work by automating away mundane tasks. With Slack, problems and solutions get worked on in real time. And creating workflow and human-driven feedback helps improve the development lifecycle and the overall quality of the product. Integrations and channels reduce context switching, and problems get resolved faster. Now let's chat to our industry experts from Solaris Bank and VP. I'm delighted to introduce Emmanuel Acqua and Antoine Millet, who are going to join me today to talk about how they're using Slack to improve productivity and incident response and automation at their organizations. Let's start with giving them a moment to introduce themselves and their organization and tell us a little bit about themselves. Emmanuel, I'll start with you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us, V. I'm Emmanuel Acqua. I'm the engineering manager for the site reliability engineering, as well as the cloud and platform engineering teams here at Solaris Bank. And for those of us who don't know what Solaris Bank is, it's actually a banking as a service organization, right? This is what we offer. We offer modern APIs that enable or remove the regulations for new startups that actually want to jump into the banking market. And we have a variety of products like KYC, digital cards, banking, and a variety of anything that enables you to actually be a bank without jumping into the German regulations. But we're based in Berlin and Ukraine, and we proudly call ourselves a tech company with a banking license, right? And yeah, that's it for me.
That's great. Antoine.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. My name is Antoine. I'm the head of IT operations of VP. VP is an online retailer based in Europe and operating in Europe, specialized in flash sales. It's a short event with specific brands for a specific periods of time. My roles involve managing all the IT operations, meaning SRE, incident management, and everything related to the production platform.
That's great. Let's dive into our Q&A. We know that engineering and IT teams love automation. I'm really curious to hear what tools and integrations that you've put in place in Slack and how they've helped you automate your processes. Emmanuel, I'd like to start with you.
Okay, so Slack is actually the central communication tooling for the organization. We have quite a variety of apps integrated to help ease the lives of all our engineers, as well as the entire organization in general, right? So we have Miro for basically whiteboarding. We have incident bots that we customize as well, which would be something I'd like to even enhance our communication on or talk a bit more about later on. We have Pingdom, we have Ignite, we have email integrations, we have Jira, we have Okta workflows as well as quite a few variety of custom monitoring alerts, mainly from our AWS setup as well, all over Slack. So it gets a bit busy sometimes, but it helps give the visibility into the tooling across the organization, as well as enhance that integration since Slack is what everyone looks at. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Antoine, same question for you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Automations is something we love at VP and we're using a lot. The first thing is VP is organized in product team, and first we released one applications per product team. Then we mixed it with a lot of well-known public applications like Airtable, Zapier, GitHub, GitLab integrations, PagerDuty like in Solaris Bank. We also love that. And basically, we tend to say everything that needs engineer hands should be automatized on Slack. So that's basically our module.
That's wonderful. The PagerDuty resonated with me too. I think we all have that. Let's talk about examples of how Slack is reducing stress or making people's jobs easier. I think it's really important to think about that, especially with everybody working from home these days and living through extra stress environmentally. So let's have a quick chat about that. Emmanuel.
Okay, funny enough, it's like you said, PagerDuty seems to be the common theme, and so I know it would be nice to hear maybe at a later point how you actually integrate that, right, and how you use it. Back to the question regarding stress. I don't know, in the context of COVID and how it currently stands, if tooling can actually solve this issue completely, right? Like I said, currently I'm solo with my daughter, right? So it's quite a bit of a hassle trying to figure out Zoom in and Slack at the same time. However, I think there's a criticality separating synchronous communication as well as asynchronous. And I think Slack does this down to the T. For us as an organization, one thing that we actually try to do is for anyone who has to be a lot more flexible. I mean, in this times, it's critical for workloads, right? You have to be able to be flexible in different teams, which would mean some decisions actually being or are able to be taken in Slack, right? You don't have to jump into a call to have synchronous communication to figure out A and B. Doesn't make sense anymore. You're able to assimilate or extract this into a thread in Slack, have a communication, make sure the right parties are involved, and make a decision. Also, it helps us contextualize the variety of topics, right? And ensure that with a topic, for example, a dedicated channel, all the right parties are in there to make the decision. And the extraction of stress in this regard means it's not time critical. You have potentially a day versus 30 minutes to make a decision. And as long as the right parties are involved, you have this kind of flexibility to influence the decision regardless of not being as reactive as you would be in a synchronous call. So I think this is my takeaway. At least our Slack helps us as an organization to reduce stress.
Yeah, that definitely resonates with me, Emmanuel. Like I'm part of a global team with a team based in multiple time zones. So for me, I definitely feel like I have a voice at the table, and I can continue to influence and direct conversations asynchronously. So that definitely resonates with me. Antoine, what about you and your organization in VP reducing stress for your engineers?
Yeah, stress and context switching is something we all know is strong in an engineering team, especially if we keep in mind that we are almost 1,000 engineers at VP. So for us, everything is linked to the communications and the usage of Slack. So the first thing we did, we have an internal tools to manage teams, product teams, names, assignments. So the first thing we did is to create a bot that manage Slack channels and the Slack group with all teams to make it easier, to understand who is doing what, where, and how to reach somebody. Again, to avoid too many context switching. Then, when it was done, we moved to improve. We moved to something to improve the overall communications. Meaning, as you can guess, 1,000 engineers, we delivered a lot of new features each day. We had to work on that, again, to make it easier for everybody to read and understand what happens and what will happen at VP in terms of technical point of view. So to do that, we also create an automations based on the semantic release tools to allow engineers to just focus on releasing, not the communications. Because again, as I said, we have a Slack channels for every product teams and a Slack group for each team, meaning it's easier to know what has been done by who and where. Then following that, we also have the announce channels, which is a big summary each morning. And lucky us, we are all working in the same time zone, so it's easier to manage, to inform every engineer of what happens the last day on the overall engineer team, then what will happen today. So this one was, for us, I think, some kind of game changer because it makes really the understanding of the big pictures and the movement easy to follow.
Okay. Actually, I have a question regarding the announce channels, mainly because we have a similar setup. And I can see a similar setup in your teams as well. You have the product teams and you have this extraction of automation around the product teams. Do you have the announce channels across all product teams, or is it contextualized per product team? Is it within the product or on a bigger context?
That's a very good question, because also to avoid too many context switchings, we worked on some kind of Slack norms to define the minimum requirements in terms of Slack channels per product team, meaning we have one release channels per product teams, one per tribes, product or organizing tribes, one for a group of tribes, then the general one. Each time we cleaned a bit the technical stuff to focus on the business value, but on the product channels, you have all the changelog in real time. Then we we cleaned it a bit. And at the end, in the big announce channels, it's a major one used also by the business teams. So it's more easier to read. It's just the major change. We have the granularity each time. You can bounce products, tribes, company.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Nice.
Emmanuel, as you were Antoine, as you were talking, it made me wonder, what is the impact of that kind of heightened communication on something like your incidents across the organization and even incident response?
Yeah, the incident question is always a good question. Again, on that part, we choose to develop our own incident automations. We use external tools indeed, but we have our own robots to manage that. So like many of other company, and I guess in Solaris Bank too, we have the incidents channels. But in this one, the first thing the bots did, because again, communications for us is the key of everything. Each morning, you have a reminder of the team in charge of what numbers you need to call if you encountered an issue, etc. to make it easier. Then this channels is mostly used to send a notification when an incident is open, to make the communication easier and to avoid the big channels with too many people talking about something. Then following that, our incident process is quite, I would say, big. We started to work on it 4 years ago. It's mostly based on Slack, as you can guess, because one of the key for us was to allow engineers to focus only on engineering stuff during an incident. We all know that an incident is something stressful. It required a lot of energy and to think fast. If you have to think about how to fit the KPI of the incident, we lost time in it. So we worked since 4 years to reduce all the contention point and the pain point related to the incident management to make it automatic based on Slack. Because again, people are talking on Slack about an incident. We declare it on Slack. We manage it with Slack commands. So it's easier to say, okay, just focus on the resolutions. Then the automations will do the rest for you. And again, with time, we automatize the communications through the board, to the executive committee, to the top management. Again, to avoid people thinking about, oh, I forgot to inform my manager that we had an issue. No problem. It's automatic now. So just focus on the resolutions. We will handle the rest.
Nice. I really like that. Emmanuel, what's it like in Solaris Bank in terms of using Slack to help you resolve incidents quickly?
Yeah, it's insane because I even had a follow-up question for Antoine, which I'll ping back after I answer this question. Mainly because it's insane the reliance on the bot as well, because in terms of how we actually manage and follow through from an incident in terms of being detected up until resolution, there's a heavy dependence on the bot as well, right? And we also have a custom Slack bot where we initially have this triage process, right? So initially, we try and determine, first of all, if it's an incident, but then the bot takes over from there. Like you trigger the incident, you trigger the right parties. And to give you a bit more context, the way Solaris Bank is set up from an engineering perspective is we have this you build, you own mentality. So we have the product teams owning their infrastructure, and then we have second level support, which is usually site reliability engineering team and cloud and platform engineering team, right? Which would mean product teams will usually get the first alert because it's in the scope of the product. Then they triage and they're able to trigger an actual incident. All right. So at this point, the Slack bot takes over. There's a dedicated channel. All the conversation happens locally. And for any reason, if an escalation has to happen, it's happened or it is done through the bot as well, which you mean you can call the bot, escalate, and it goes to the right parties. We also have this concept of horizontal escalation where necessary, right? So we can pull in the right parties because you might not necessarily have to only go vertical. You can pull in different product teams because we have interdependencies in the organization, right? But yeah, this bot still plays a central role. And also in terms of the contextualizing of information for an incident, because it's localized to a channel, you have this chronological order of how things actually happened, right? And this is like gold because without being able to have this objective view of what actually really happened, since you're really keeping track of this happened, we are posting screenshots, it's hard to really extract the postmortem at the end. But I like and pinging to what Antoine, he said about VP and how he set it up. I'm really interested in how you close that incident, right? Because it seems your bot plays a central role in closing or maybe encompassing the entire incident in different wrappers for executive committees, for POs, and for every party involved. And it'd be nice to maybe see how that process works and how you go. Because 4 years, I get that, like a 4-year process to get to an incident management, maybe the finalized perfect bot. It takes some time, and it looks like you put a lot of investments in there, and it looks like it's paid off as well. It'd be nice to hear how that wrapper looks like for the different parties.
Yeah, to be honest, it's still a work in progress. As you can guess, we improve it, I would say, each month. It's an iterative thing. But for that, I forgot to say in my previous answer, but we also have a dedicated incident management team in charge of not resolving the incident, but ensuring the process and maybe the missing escalations, to cover the engineering team, to say, okay, if you miss something, a team will handle that for you. Then, as you can guess, everything is automated based on Slack. So we have the database with all the fields that will be filled automatically during the incident resolutions. Then applied on that, we have some sections in it to say, okay, this column is okay, this one is not, the channel's name had an issue following the things, the product name is the wrong one, the team is not the right one, the communication lead chosen is not deeply linked to the product, etc. So the first things, we automatize the summary, because when we know that everything is properly filled, we can shoot a summary in the Slack channels with all the informations, I would say, for people external to the incident to understand it. Then following that, once a week, we reviewed all incidents with the incident management team to check if everything is properly filled. Then if it is, we can close the incident. To do that, to make it quick, we defined some kind of patterns in terms of incident origins. So each group of origins should have a specific resolutions methods, meaning, to make it clear, if it's a bug, a deployment issue, or a regressions, every incident should be linked to a merge request, allowing us to follow that if the merge is merged and deployed in production. In that case, also for a bug, we can consider it as closed because we can track the resolutions and the deployment. So again, incident is something wide and complex, so we try to find patterns, and I would say each month to improve it a bit, to add more and more automations.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, yeah, it's never done, right? It's always work in progress. But yeah, thanks for the context.
Definitely.
Cool.
There were two things that came up in that chat that really jumped out to me. One was, Emmanuel, you talking about, the incident channel being the record of everything that happened. And then Antoine, you talked about, the fact that the deployments and the merges are linked in there as well. From my experience, that's been so powerful as a document of record. And even when you think, like in Solaris Bank, I imagine, from an audit perspective, it's really important that these things are recorded. And I'm an incident commander myself, so I've definitely found it really, really beneficial that, when it comes to writing summaries or RCAs for customers, we've also automated all of that. It basically reads the channel and spits out a summary at the end. So hugely, hugely powerful. And I think it provides this sort of extra level of visibility that is really, really useful. I'm going to wrap up with one last question. And really, it's kind of like a broad question around development life cycles and just even the happiness of engineers and how they work together. So I'd like to ask both of you, how do you think Slack is fostering communication and collaboration across your development teams today? Let's start with you, Antoine.
Yeah, the impact of Slack on the engineer is, again, a big question. Thank you for asking that. So first of all, you need to know that we started Slack deployment 4 years ago. So we are now 4 years users. And the company is not only 1,000 engineers, but we are almost 6,000 at VP, meaning we have 6,000 users on Slack. So as you can guess, it's quite hard to manage. and the impact of 5,000 people, non-technical people on 1,000 technical, ask us a lot of work to make the exchange between teams and people easier. And to do that, again, we focused a lot on the norms to make things clear, simplifying the exchange and allowing people, to just reach the right Slack channels, because I guess for most of the company, it's always the hard questions. Which one is the good one? So that's why 4 years ago, we also, when we deployed Slack first, we worked on the norms to make things easier. Then a lot of times flies since then. Yeah, as you can guess, especially nowadays, Slack is at the center of our engineering teams. So to resume a bit, it's always on, I would say, work to make things easier. For that, we analyze some patterns. We analyze behavior each month to determine what is good, what is wrong, and what can be improved or automatized. Basically, that's when we were doing that 3 years ago, that we'd say, okay, it's quite hard to reach an engineer team. So maybe let's make it easier with an automatic Slack group to know the team directly and to ping it in the right channels. Based on that, again, each month we try to find new automations to do to allow a nice and fluent communications. We deployed a lot of things around that. Then 1 year ago came the release cycle and the deployment things on the table. So for that, we also used one tools, and we developed a small ecosystems around that to make the pure technical communications fluent and easy and automatic. That was the key for us. Again, we are all human. We can forget, to say, okay, we changed something huge. So we worked a lot on that. Again, keeping in mind that communication is the key for us because we are all in the same time zone, but we are split across 12 countries now. So meaning we have all different way to work, different hours to work. So yeah, the communication for us is the center of everything. So it's, I would say it's a common work of everybody to find the things to improve, to report it. Again, we can't on a day-to-day basis analyze all the patterns, but yeah, for us is to conclude, the key is to automatize everything that basically require the human things. Not really good, but for a human to think about it, if it can be automatized, we should do it to make the communications easier, to reduce the stress, and yeah, to make people happy, basically.
Love it.
Yeah.
Emmanuel, same question for you. So how is Slack impacting communication and collaboration at Solaris Bank?
I mean, it's insane how central Slack is to most organizations now. Like hearing Antoine go through the way VP does it it reminds me of what similarities across tech-focused companies look like now. And communication, like Antoine, you beautifully said it, communication is key. It's hard to nail it. And I think one thing that we understand as an organization is iteration is key. You keep doing it and you try a few things, you experiment, and then you fail quickly. Whatever you try that didn't actually work, you roll back, but then you proceed with another experiment and you tweak things to make it better. Currently, asynchronous communication is one of the best, I say, touch points for Slack for us, ensuring that people don't have to be in a room, especially now that everyone is remote. And I have this tree analogy of Slack being the ability, and I think that's one thing Antoine also says, the ability to be able to find certain information is, if you don't nail it the right way, you'll be looking for, like, let's say the branch or the leaf without necessarily going through the stem. And it pulls back to how we do the triaging for our incident management process. We have a dedicated channel for triaging, right? So we have this triage channel, right, where we talk and then figure out if it's an incident. Which means technically for incidents, this is the stem of the tree, right? This is where you can find out what's happening. When the bot is called, you're pulled into a Slack channel, which is like the branch, right? You're able to like jump off the stem into the branch and be able to identify what's happening with that specific incident. Right? You're able to localize the communication asynchronously. So the crazy thing about this is it's psychological as well, because for anyone who's browsing through can potentially see the level of a bigger overview as to what incidents are happening in Solaris Bank in this channel. But for anyone who needs a lot more context, you're able to branch off, go to the dedicated localized channel, see context on the generic incident level. But for anyone who even needs a lot more technical detail, if an architect comes into the room or the CTO wants to see what's actually happening, or tech support wants to give a lot more integrated, maybe information to partners, they're able to get that more context in threads in the Slack channel, right? So if you're not able to build this kind of linkage between communication and Slack, you kind of fail, because then being able to actually find that information becomes an issue. So I think Slack gives you the tools to be able to make this work. You can fail at it if you iterate and then make sure that you're able to, especially with the incident management process. And I know we keep coming back to this, but it's really, and in a way, is the chicken and the egg as the tool. It's really enhanced our ability to have this level of overview, but also intricate detail with incident management processes and have it with communication across other topics as well in Solaris Bank. So yeah, in a nutshell.
That's wonderful. Thanks for that. It definitely resonates, right? I think one of the key things that came out there for both of you was that, this is a process and we're iterating on it. And I have to put my hand up, even though I work at Slack, we are also still iterating on it and making it better day by day. Thank you both so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope our audience did too. Thanks again, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you, V.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you, Emmanuel.